Hallelujah. Thank God you people are tuned into the TV. We appreciate you. We love you. May the Lord give you understanding. And our main purpose on this station is to teach the word of the Lord. Bring understanding to the people that the Lord has given us. We're right now in some teaching that's very important on the Arabian nations in Iraq and Iran, all the different nations, Saudi Arabia, all those different Syria and all the different countries over there, Jordan and the different places of the Arab people out of Ishmael. Teaching on Ishmael seed is what we call this teaching here. Isaac had a seed. That came down. Jesus came out of that seed. And then on the other seed, there was a bad son born, a wild man, come out of Abram and Hagar of the Arabian nations. And we're going to read now to you in that 21st chapter of the book of Genesis. I want to read to you about what the Lord said here in verse 20 of the 21st chapter of the book of Genesis. Verse 20, 21st chapter of Genesis. And God was with the lad, Ishmael, and he grew and dwelt in the wilderness, in the desert. That's where they dwell, in the desert country. To this day, the Arabian nations, Iraq, Iran, all, and a lot of desert country around where they're at. And he dwelt in the wilderness, which is desert, and became an archer. That's what God said he would be. He would become an archer. And dwelt in the wilderness of Paran, and his mother took him a wife out of the land of Egypt for Ishmael. And he had children of the Arabian nations come out of him. Now I want to talk about that archer just a little bit. Archer means that he will fight. If you're an archer, you shoot a bow and arrow. And that means fight. So I'm going to go over and jump over in the book of Revelation to couple up with this archer here. We're going to the 6th chapter of the book of Revelation. And all of you can turn with us into that 6th chapter of the book of Revelation. Verse 1. We will read that verse 1 of the 6th chapter of Revelation. And you said, well, does that have to do with Ishmael being an archer? Well, I want to remind you here just shortly, when we read this, we will turn to our board again after we read this and let you see what I'm talking about. And so you'll have an understanding too. I thank God he's given me an understanding that I can teach the word of the Lord and bring understanding to the people. After all, that's what people need. It's not just go to church, you need an understanding. So we need preachers or the teachers on TV or wherever they're bring an understanding to the people. And you people out there looking at your TV, that's exactly what I want to do to you, is bring understanding. We're going to go to Revelation chapter 6. You can write it down if you don't have a Bible with you or remember it. Verse 1 of chapter 6. And I saw when the Lamb opened one of the seals, and I heard, as it were, the noise of thunder. One of the 4 beasts saying, come and see. Verse 2 of the 6th chapter of Revelation. And I saw, and behold, a white horse. Now, John, getting the revelation from God, he said, I saw, and behold, a white horse. And he that sat on him had a bow. And a crown was given unto him, and he went forth conquering and to conquer. Now I want you to notice this prophecy. He had a bow in his hand. It matches what Ishmael was told. Ishmael would be an archer. In Isaiah, probably in Genesis 21 and 20, he said, Ishmael shall be an archer. And then we find over in Revelation that he saw a white horse, and he had a bow in his hand, and the one on the horse went forth conquering and to conquer. Now, if you will, look with me at my board. I want you to look at my board. Ishmael would be a bondswoman. A bonds come from the bondswoman, a bondservant, the bondson. The 12 princes come of him, Arab nations. But out of them nations, for their religion, they've got Mohammedanism. called Muslim over here in this country, especially, and Islam is supposed to be their God. Now we're looking at the white horse in Revelation chapter 6. This white horse has somebody on him with a bow. Just like it was said to Ishmael, he'll be an archer, would be a warrior, he would battle and fight. Out of him, through their religion of Muhammad battled, and he fought with a bow. And also he, in Revelation, shows us a white horse representing religion, white. It looks like a religion, but he's riding a horse with a bow in his hand, going forth to conquer and to conquer the people in the earth. And that's what the Arabian people under this religion is trying to do today, is conquer other nations and bring them under their religion. And they have stoned them, bombed them, or do anything to them. They've got the nature of Ishmael in them, and he was an archer. And also this one on the white horse, he is an archer. He makes war under religion. What religion today makes war under their religion? There's only one that I know of, is Mohammedanism. Islam, Muslims, the only one that fight and bomb and destroy people and blow up people, tying bombs of people and letting cars run into people, buses, blowing buses up, killing people under their religion. And they say Islam is mad at everybody and he wants them to bomb people. That's what their religion is, if you've never studied their religion. But that's the type thing. So the white horse here is not Jesus on this horse. This is the religion of Mohammedanism with a bow and trying to conquer people. And all the nations over there around them, they've won by war. They warred among their brethren. And they went into Europe and warring. And they started a lot of Mohammedan and Muslim religion in Europe, and it stopped in France. France stopped them, fought them there, and stopped them from taking over France years ago. So anyway, we know about some of these things. Now, the whole world, they want to bring people under their religion. I want you to remember this. They want to bring people under their type religion. If you're under their religion, they'll leave you alone. But if you get on their soil, they're going to bum you. And they're going to terrorize you. And if you bother them, they're going to come over here and try to terrorize you over here. That's the reason they bombed the United States, was because they was getting into their business. And that bin Laden came out of Saudi Arabia, which was an Arabian country. And he's one of that seed of Ishmael, wild type people. And that's the way they think. Kill people. And their leaders of them is that type of people. And the people don't know that, but the Bible speaks of this. That they will come out and be, Ishmael will be a wild man. That's like bin Laden. He's got that nature too. And so all of them people they are different type people there that they're having problem with. So as we get into some of these things, we probably thought we'd bring that in about the horse on the rider on the white horse having a bow in his hand going forth to conquer. Well, it said Ishmael would be an archer. The Lord already said he knew what he was going to be. And he knew what was coming out of them. He knew what religion they would have. He knew the kind of people they would be. And they try to have a religion of their own lacking because they're wild. They don't want to humble under the Lord. They got a God they don't have to humble. They fight through their God. And a lot of people might not like what I'm saying. It might not, but I'm saying this to you. This is the word of the Lord. And all of you know it. I mean, the news tells you who's over there warring and battling. And they got a religion they war through. Some of them don't think that, but they're not out for peace. They're out for war. They're a warring faction of people, wild by nature, out of Ishmael. He'll be a wild man. So don't you ever know the Lord knows what he's talking about. And he knows what's going to come to pass in the land. So we're teaching things like that. And you don't hear them everywhere. The news don't have them. TV don't have them as a whole on nothing but broadcasting what happens over there. But we're telling you the reason for it. We're telling you that God ordained these people and talked about what they would be before they ever come to be what they are. He said they would be an archer, Israel was. They'll be a warring people before they ever come to doing what they're doing now. And the Lord saw down through time they would do that. And only He could do that. He said, Abraham, this is where they're going to be. Don't worry about the lad. He'll be great. He's going to be an archer and things like that. So this was what the Lord was saying in those days. And I pick up on that. Thank God I pick up on that. I got an understanding. I know how to get to the places we need to go because the Lord has given me a way of teaching. We teach. And you're supposed to get a hold of these teaching. Don't let it slip because you're not going to get it everywhere you go. So anyway, we say to all you on TV, get a hold of these things. Now, we're going back up some more again, back from Revelation. We might come back to that again. And we're teaching. How's our time? Great. All right, now we're going to look. Let's see. Now I want to go to the book of Matthew 24 right now. Matthew 24. A lot of you knows this is where Jesus is telling what the end time will be like. Matthew chapter 24. Jesus doing the talking as we read in the book of Matthew to you. All right. We're looking at chapter 24 of the book of Matthew. Now, as Jesus began to talk about the end time, Matthew 24, that's one chapter that teaches Jesus doing the talking in this chapter. Matthew chapter 24, and we're going to kind of narrate some of these things for you. And we're going to read to you from, let's see, we'll start reading. I think we're going to read from verse 21 of the 24th chapter of the book of Matthew. Verse 21 of the 24th chapter of Matthew, where Jesus is talking about the end time. Verse 21 says this, for then, speaking of the trouble that's going to happen, right prior to this, he's telling them to flee out of Jerusalem because of the desolation that's going to come. We'll cover that with you another time. I might could just jump up here to verse 15 momentarily of the 24th chapter of Matthew. Jesus saying, when ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet, and we'll go into Daniel and give you that in one of these teachings. When you see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet, stand in the holy place, that's in Jerusalem, whoso readeth, let him understand. Then let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains. And when you see the desolation of Jerusalem, or the armies encamped about Jerusalem, the Arabian armies and all of them coming down after them to fight against Israel, against Jerusalem, he says, then let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains. Get out of there. And let him which is on the housetop get off his house and get out of Jerusalem. Now come down to take anything out of his house. Neither let him which is in the field return back to take his clothes. You better get on away from there and don't go into Jerusalem, he's telling them. And woe unto them that are with child and to them that give suck in those days, because there's going to be trouble in Jerusalem. These Arabian nations are going to come down out of the seed of Ishmael, will come down there and make Jerusalem desolate at a time appointed. Verse 20, but pray ye that your flight be not in the winter, because in the mountains it's snow and bad to go in the wintertime to have to travel. Neither on the Sabbath day, they kept the Sabbath day under the Mosaic law, the Ten Commandments. Now verse 21, here's where we want to take hold. For then shall be great tribulation. Going to be great tribulation around Jerusalem. That's where your trouble is going to be from the Arab nation that we're teaching on, Ishmael's seed. But then shall be great tribulation, such as it was not since the beginning of the world. Going to be such trouble around Jerusalem at that time by these wild people and all that's going to come out of Ishmael. Going to be such trouble that's never been since the beginning of the world to this time, no nor ever shall be. And talking about trouble, them people knows how to cause trouble. They're wild people, and God's got them ordained to do the trouble they're going to do. And they will do such trouble that you've never heard of before. And they're doing things now you never would have heard of nations doing before. But things are going to get worse. Things are going to get worse. Now listen to me as we cover these scriptures for you. Now verse 22. Except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved. Because they kill everybody off. Wars, because notice Ishmael was an archer. He made war. The white horse of the religion makes war. Mohammedanism makes war in Revelation chapter 6. He said there'd be no flesh saved, except he shortened the days. There should no flesh be saved in verse 22 of Matthew 24. But for the elect's sake, that's the elect, and some that's in Jerusalem is going to be there, are the elect. That's the area he's talking about. Not talking about us over here as much as he's talking about the elect in Jerusalem or around in that area. That's where the battle's going to be. It's not going to be over here in the United States. It's going to be around Jerusalem, around Israel, and they all hate Israel. The Arab nations they all hate Israel. And that's the reason they're fighting Israel. That's the reason Israel fights back at them. That war is going on between Israel and the Arabs and those things, back and forth. But there's coming a climax one day. It's going to be a time of trouble, such as never was. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. If God didn't shorten the days of these wild people, they'd kill everybody off. They're just about trying to kill everybody off anyway. Bombing and doing it, terrorists everywhere and everything else. They try to kill everybody off. But the Lord's going to shorten the days. He's got control of those people. He knows how to stop them. He knows how to handle things. Don't you ever know? He's talking about them, and he's talking about, Jesus is right here. Such a day there's never been since the beginning of the world. Now, verse 23. Then if any man shall say unto you, Lo, here is Christ. Now, some are going to say, Lo, here is Christ. Who's going to do that? Wait just a minute, Brother James. Lo, here is Christ. I want you to look at my board just a minute again with me. They're going to say, they're going to come out of this nation, Mohammedan religion are going to try to take over the Muslim and Islam with our white horse rider in Revelation that I teach. The man of sin, all right, down here, the man of sin. He's going to come out of the desert. And he's going to go in the temple of Jerusalem. And right there at the beast rule time. But look at this with me. Look at this with me, all of you. Jesus, we're reading right here now. Verse 24 of Matthew 24. For there shall arise, verse 23. If any man shall say unto you, Lo, here is Christ, or there, believe it not. Because it's not going to be that way. They can't say, Lo, here's Christ, or there. But listen to these next verses. He's going to come out of the desert. The man of sin will. And they think that's the real Christ. But it's not. It's that false one. False Christ. And as they see many saying, I am Christ. And they're going to come out of that nation over there. That's where the seed is coming from, into Jerusalem. And some of Jerusalem is going to be deceived if they don't know God. Look at what it says. Jesus warned them. They say, here's Christ, believe it not. Verse 24 of Matthew 24. For there shall arise false Christs. And they're going to come out of those countries over there, out of the Arab nations, and false prophets are going to come out of there. And shall shew great signs and wonders over there. There'll be a lot of signs and wonders done over there, insomuch that if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect of Israel that's over there. They deceive the very elect of Israel that are over there. Behold, Jesus says, verse 25, Behold, I have told you before. I'm telling you before it comes to pass. I've told you before about it. Jesus is telling Israel, speaking to Israel through the prophecies and through the disciples. Verse 26, wherefore, if they shall say unto you, behold, he is in the desert, that's where the Arabs dwell, don't you believe it. He's in the desert, go not forth, Jesus says. Don't you go out in the desert where that man of sin is. Don't you go out there to where he's at, because he's saying he's out in that desert where the Arab nations are. But don't you go. Stay with me. This is something we're working with you, and you've read it many times and never got it, because we had to take you down through this learning process of where the battles are and things are happening through Ishmael out of Abram, and these things is coming to pass. But who would have thought these things? Only God. He said, wherefore if they shall say unto you, verse 26 of Matthew 24, behold, he's in the desert, go not forth. Behold, he is in the secret chambers, believe it not. Now he's going to go and sit in the temple of God in the secret chambers, the man of sin is, and say God's in the secret chambers. Don't you believe that either? What time we got, Sister Billy? Believe it not. And let's read on down here just a minute. Believe it not. He's not going to be in the secret chambers. He's not going to be in the temple over there in Jerusalem. That's not where Jesus is going to be. That's not where the real Christ is going to be. He's not going to be in the desert. That's not where the real Christ is going to be. Where is he going to be? Let's read this next verse. Verse 27. For as the lightning, now people ought to took notice of this years ago. Preachers should have took notice of this a long time ago. This verse 27. For as the lightning cometh out of the east. Well, if it starts in the east, it'll flash clear across to the west. Whereas the lightning cometh out of the east, shineth even unto the west, it goes clear across the sky. You see it. Look like, boy, lightning flashing clear all across everywhere. As lightning come out of the east, it goes to the west. And watch this. So shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. The Son of Man is coming just like the lightning does. You see the lightning go from the east to the west? And Jesus, he's not going to be in the desert, nor in the secret chambers. Where is he coming from? He's going to come out of the heavens. Now listen to it. Listen as we read it to you. Verse 28. For wheresoever the carcass is, there will the eagles be gathered together. Now the eagles always gather where the carcass is. And this is where Jesus will be, where his people are being. He will be where he comes back to his people. Now he's not going to be in the desert. He's not going to come out of the desert. He's not going to come out of the secret chambers. He won't come out of the temple and present himself as Christ. He's going to come out of the heavens. Like the lightning shines from east to the west. And we've got religions that teaches Jesus is going to slip in any minute. He's not going to slip in, my friend. He's not going to slip in. He's going to come and every eye shall see him. He's coming out of the heavens. Like the lightning shine from east to the west, you're going to see him come out of there. He's not coming out of the desert, not out of the secret chambers. He warns them, I've told you before. They say he's in the desert, don't you go. And how many people pays attention to the writings? How many people pays much attention today? How many preachers know very much today? I don't think a lot of them know too much about prophecy and know these things. Where God's taking me down a place with you people today on TV, you're fortunate. If you could pick up on these things, you are very fortunate. You are very fortunate if God will open your eyes. And only he can open your eyes. I can't. He can, but I can't. But I can teach it, but he can open your eyes. And he can give you an understanding. Let's read that 27th verse just a minute. Still got enough time. Okay. For as the lightning, verse 27 of Matthew 24. For the lightning shineth out of the east, and shineth even unto the west, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. All right? Son of Man's coming will be just like the lightning. Shines from the east to the west. Just like that. And so you don't look in the desert, it's in the heavens. Where does the lightning come from? From the east to the west, all the way across the sky. Well, the Son of Man, he's coming just like the lightning does, out of the sky. Where are we going to be caught up to meet him? He's going to come forth, and the dead in Christ shall rise first, and we that shall be changed and meet him in the air. Because he's coming this way. He's not going to be in the desert places or in the secret chambers. He's not going to slip in and slip anybody out in a rapture. There ain't going to be no such thing. Ain't no such thing as a rapture for you. He's coming. When he comes back, he's going to make war against these people, these same Arab people. He's going to fight them. Called Armageddon. And we'll talk about that. The Armageddon battle is Jesus fighting the Arab nations. When he comes back, listen to us, and you'll get in on all the truth. Now, he says, verse 29 tells you the time element here. The time element of Jesus coming. Verse 29 of Matthew 24. Immediately. What does immediate mean? That's quick.
Right now.
Right now. Right now. Immediately after the tribulation of those days, after these Arabs have made war, killed people all, and people the beast rule has been, and war's been, and they've come into Jerusalem and lead them captive away, and the war there, the indignation of God is upon Israel. Immediately after the tribulation of those days, as these God gets through with the Arab nation, as the tribulation of those days, shall the sun be darkened. Immediately after the tribulation, when all this bad stuff is happening, immediately after it, the sun's going to be darkened. The sun won't give its light. And Jesus won't come back till the sun stops shining. I often tell people, years ago I used to tell them that because they always thought he's going to come any time. He could come tonight before we get home. Or he can come any time. The Lord might come just any minute. I tell them, no, he's not coming any minute. He's got a set time to come. You need to read the word of the Lord. And being at the tribulation of those days, we know when he's coming. The sun shall be darkened. The sun's going to be darkened first. It won't shine before he comes back. And the moon shall not give her light before he comes back. So he's not coming back until the sun don't shine and the moon don't give its light. And the stars shall fall from heaven. And then all the powers of heaven shall be shaken. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, verse 30. And then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn because he come to fight them. All right, our time's up, caught up with us. We try to shove it in. We'll try to pick up on that in the next session.